Hello and welcome, fellow space engineers, to the first episode in the series Let's Build a Battlefleet. In this series we'll be taking a look at a variety of ships that I've created or will be creating, each with their own capabilities and roles. Hopefully by the end of the entire series we will have an entire functional, cohesive fleet. So without further ado, let's build a Battlefleet. And let's start by taking a look at the Enceladus Class Frigate. Now, when I was thinking about sort of the angle of attack for this series, I was trying to figure out what ships to do first, in what order to build them, and I decided to sort of build small and up. So this vessel, with very few exceptions, is going to be the smallest vessel in the fleet. This is a vessel that's sort of focused on escort and scouting for the most part, and it's not designed like a cruiser or capital ship for great endurance. It's not designed to cruise like a cruiser for a very long period of time. It is meant to be a sleek and agile warship that's purpose-built for just a few tasks. So to get into the specifications of the ship, it's approximately the same dimensions as the Red ship that we all know and love. Powering this vessel is 2 reactors, which we will take a look at in a little bit. Also 28 gyroscopes. 28 gyroscopes with the mass of this vessel means we have about 1 gyroscope for every 187,000 kilograms of mass. So it turns fairly well for a ship of this size. It's meant to be agile. In addition to the 2 reactors, as far as power sources, it has 25 of the new battery blocks, and those are dispersed to an extent without the ship. The idea with those is sort of emergency backup power. You could also attach to some kind of solar-powered station and charge them and use them as free energy, but the main idea is to have a non-centralized reserve power that could be used in case the reactors were destroyed, to keep essential life support functions, if they add that into the game, active, or your turrets for some means of defense, and of course some engine power to hopefully get you to limp home to safety. So getting back into weapon systems, let's jump inside to the bridge of the ship. And we can get into our cockpit, turn on our HUD, and swing around to the front, to the prow of the vessel. And now we have these 4 forward-facing Gatling turrets, and they are clustered at the front in a configuration that hopefully will allow them to protect the main offensive weapon of this ship from incoming fire. So I'm going to click this timing block on number 1, which does a couple of things. The first thing that you're going to see is that it opens a blast door, and that reveals the offensive armament of this ship, which is a set of 3 large ship rocket launchers. So these are intended to be the primary weapon system of the ship. You can use them to stand off at ranges outside of what turrets are capable of engaging. So if you see a cargo ship and you're using this, or an enemy ship and he's got a bunch of turrets, you can just rake that ship and hopefully knock out those turrets before you get pulling closer. The actual rocket batteries themselves I've optimized as best I can so that they can be fired while maneuvering. You have to get pretty out of hand with the pivoting with gyros to actually have these swing in and hit the ship. So you feel free to let fly while you're moving. Normally not going to be a problem. Now you'll notice there's a little green light in the back there by the bridge. I'm going to hop out of the cockpit. You can see there's the green light there. This one that's off will turn red when it's on. So now when I click this, it activates a timer. Like I said, that timer does a couple of things. So that closed the blast shield and turned this light on. Now if we get into the cockpit and do a view like this, you can actually see the reflected light in red on the cockpit. And the nice thing here, this gives a good visual cue if you're flying the ship and you want to let fly with your rockets. You got to know if the door is open or not, right? If you don't have some cue, you're just guessing, and you could easily hit your own ship. So the normal green means go, red means stop applies here. So green, lights on, that means you can fire your rockets safely. And you see red, don't shoot because that door is closed and you're going to blow up your ship. That's essentially it for weapon systems on this. It's not the most heavily armed vessel. Frigates don't pack the punch of larger combat vessels. It's, as I said, it's more about escorting and scouting, maybe some interdiction, but in general, not going to be incredibly heavily armored. Although the number of Gatling turrets and these 2 rocket turrets and those 3 rocket batteries are not anything to sneeze at. They can really pack a wallop. So now if we hop out outside, not literally, but hop our view outside, we can look at the running lights I had just mentioned. So now we have a button that can turn them on, turn them off, easy enough. You'll notice there are green, red, and white running lights. The white running lights in this case are intentionally white. I'm kind of following a pattern that aircraft or naval ships, this is something for naval ships. Aircraft use something very similar. In fact, I think it's almost identical, and that is that you have green flashing lights on your starboard side, and you have red on your port, and then we have a dorsally mounted flashing light that's white here, and then white at the stern. Now the idea here is, say we're in some part of space that's not quite so bright, a nebula or something, you'd be able to, if you're friendly ships maneuvering around, you'd be able to see these lights, and even if you can't see the ship, you know the orientation of the ship based on where you're seeing the lights. So you can get an idea of, okay, is this ship moving towards me, away from me? Am I going to run into this, etc. And then obviously if you're into a combat sort of scenario, you don't want to be giving away your position, so you just turn the lights off, and there they are, no more lights. This ship does have an auxiliary control center. Some of you might be wondering, you have this sort of exposed setup. It is nice to have a view, and it does make sense in a lot of cases if you're in a fight to get into a control center that's more, or a bridge that's more dug into the ship, that's better protected. But sometimes you might have some kind of intermediate scenario where you want a little protection more than the glass gives you, but you're not ready to just abandon this primary bridge yet, and that's where this blast shield comes in. So we have a pretty fast deploying blast shield. Obviously, this does not protect from the sides here or from above. So this blast shield is not intended to protect against, for example, attack craft that are able to really pick and choose their angle of attack. This would be vulnerable to that to a degree. However, if you were coming up straight on at another vessel and you're expecting a barrage of rockets or whatever, this is something you can deploy very quickly, and maybe even deploy it as you're getting out and running away down into the safer control room. That might just save you from the rocket attack or two before it's destroyed. So if we move from the bridge now, this is a mirrored side, but on this side I have kind of sheared off the top layers of armor and everything, so you can see the inner workings. Obviously this is all about engines. Engines run through this whole thing. Well, I should say all about engines and gyroscopes. And then of course these conveyors feed the rocket turrets. So we have our primary engine and we have maneuvering thrusters in here. There is no area for a person to walk through. There are no corridors or anything in this area. It's a dedicated sort of engine maneuvering pod on the side of the ship here. Now if we turn around, we've got the ship sort of cut in half down the middle. This will be a way that we can see sort of the inner workings in a more efficient manner, hopefully. So at the rear, we've got our main engines, and moving forward here, we have sort of main engineering room that has a number of batteries that I talked about. This is the largest bank of batteries is located back here. There's also another button panel down there with some controls that allow you to change the settings on the batteries and on the reactors. And you can see the conveyor system, running up and down through here. We have the main cargo compartment where there are two large cargo containers, excuse me. They're also connected up with these conveyors. Directly above, we can see sort of a main corridor open area in here. And this one actually leads through on this side to a medical bay. And if we walk in here, you can see we have the actual medical equipment, kind of the standard bright lights for a medical room. Kind of use red as an indicator for medical. So if we come back out, fly over here, you can see where we had just been, going up this tube, the control room. So we've already seen that, but that's the primary bridge, as we call it. Come down here, you can see the piston that operates the bridge blast door. We have our gravity generator, and the corridor that links these actually runs through here, and I can show you that on the inside of the other ship in a moment. And that's the starboard hatch that leads outside. If they ever add atmosphere, I'll just have to add another door on either side here to create an airlock. So this is sort of the forward engineering room. You could say it's amidships. That's also a term. It sort of means the middle of the ship. I just thought it was kind of a clumsy term. And I'm still not clear. Maybe you can post in the comments if it's amidships or amidship. It seems odd that it's amidships, but I think it might be that. So at any rate, our conveyor system continues on through the floor here. We have some more batteries, and come through here. This corridor, access corridor, would run along this way, and you can actually see this is the connector piston assembly in here. And then up at the near the prow of the ship, we have what is the more protected command and control area, and also the main crew berth. So we've got 4 beds here, and in the non-cutaway version there are a couple more. And then forward of that we have the turrets that are protecting the front, and we have the blast shield for the rockets. So that is essentially the inside of this ship. And as I said, I will of course be releasing the ship onto the Steam Workshop, so you can have fun exploring and or blowing it up, whatever you want to do yourself. If you want to see more, please click those like and subscribe buttons. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next installment of Let's Build a Battlefleet.